time to reach out to your neighbours, to the old people who are alone, and take away their fear. And you can always send them to our website, drcharlieward.com, to find out what's really going on. Televisions, and they're living a life at the moment that's really scared. So it's time to reach out and look after them. We're coming into a great awakening right now, and for people that are unaware of what's going on, they'll be living in fear, they'll be petrified. So this is the time to reach out to your neighbours, to the old people who are alone, and take away their fear. And you can always send them to our website, drcharlieward.com.
You try to push the envelope on the interstitial fluids as high as even 8.4. But here again, you can't do that with water that is positively charged, that is hydrogen saturated. So you want to reduce the saturation. So an ionization process, it either can be used under pressure, where you take water into a system after it's been filtered and narrow the amount of the opening down to something very small, and it creates pressure. So water is being under pressure at 60 psi is being pushed into a very small area. In order for the water to go through, it has to break apart. As that pressure is created, that static pressure is created, it ionizes the body through static pressure. So the water goes through not at 40 molecule clusters, it goes through at 5 or even at the molecular state. This is important because as you reduce the size of the water clustering, as you reduce the size of it, you also increase the electrical energy of the water or the electrons of that water, because you have more surface area. That water can then go into the interstitial fluids and into the cells to hydrate the cells, because now the cells thrive and operate not on sugar, not sugar metabolism, but through the electron transport, they actually thrive on electrical energy. Their cells run on electrons. So when you're delivering a high pH electron saturated, and that can be measured with your meter, it's called oxidative reduction potential, it's called reduced water, it's high, ideally at least negative 450 up to 850 millivolts. Now to do that, to find that water.
How do we do that? How does the average Joe? Because this sounds pretty.
Well, that's the science. You have to buy an apparatus, kind of like you buy a blender or a toaster. Yeah. You have to buy an apparatus that will filter the water, alkalize the water, ionize the water, and then functionally structure the water. Okay, because those are the four aspects of a good quality water. So what's going from the tap is taking out lithium, it's taking out fluoride, it's taking out arsenic and lead, some of these larger particulates. So it's taking out. Is there
anything like that on the market? I mean, is there?
There is. Yeah, there is, and I've been very, very sensitive is to people's pocketbooks, because if you look at different brands out there, and I don't want to mention anyone by name specifically, but the brand that starts with the letter K. So that particular brand, I mean, you're looking at, 3,000 to 4,000 euros, up to 5,000 euros. And you're going, wait a minute. I mean, okay, well, the investment is good, but why am I paying so much for this? And the reason why these machines there's different reasons. One of the reasons is there's platinum, and they're platinum titanium plates, and platinum is very, very pricey. So when you have plates, large plates of titanium, platinum coated titanium, these plates really increase the price. And then you have you have a motherboard in there with electronics that is actually measuring the pH of the water and testing. So you can actually see on the digital screen, you can see the pH of the water. You can select the pH specifically. If you want 11 pH or 11.5, or you want a 10 or 9.8, you can select that. And it also allows you to adjust the electrical ionization of that water, the increase of electrons, because electrons move at a very rapid rate. And so you want to slow the water technology down to where you're producing this ionized electron-rich water. So the water goes through a machine. There are machines, ionization, and they have approximately anywhere from 9 to 11 titanium platinum plates that does ionization, alkalization, and filtration. And the price on those, the new ones that are coming out, are running around 1,000 to 1,500 euros.
So I have a quick question. So, because I know people are going to be thinking this. So what if you have $100?
Okay.
200 bucks. Yeah. You're like, biggest bang for the buck.
Okay. So I'm working from the top. I'm working from the top down rather than the bottom up.
Awesome.
Okay. So the next phase, so we jump from, like, 3,000 to 4,000 euros down to 2,000 to 1,500 euros. And for those who are listening, we're talking about anywhere from, $3,000 or $4,000 down to $1,500, depending on how many plates it has, to a pressure-induced system that breaks the water molecules apart, has a filtration, an ionization, pH based upon pressurization. Now you're down to about 400 or 500 euros. Okay, because you don't have those titanium platinum plates.
Right.
You don't have all the electronics. You don't need it. You invest in a pH meter. Okay, then if 400 or 500 euros is too much, then what you have to go is to a ionizing pH pitcher, to where you put the water into the pitcher. It goes through a filtration system to take out impurities. It reintroduces alkaline minerals and increases. Here again, you don't have much control over the pH, so it's not like you can dial this in, but your pH is going to be anywhere from 2 points to 3 points higher than the water's coming out of the tap. And you are going to purify that water. And those types of apparatuses, the pitchers, the alkalizing pitchers, run anywhere from 75 to 100 euros, or in dollars, anywhere around $100. Now, if you want the least expensive, okay, because now here you want to go into a nanofiltration system, which here again you have to change the filters on all these machines. You just buy a nanofiltration system for about $100, $150. And then once the water comes out, or if you have a current filtration system, you filter the water, or if you have a distiller, or if you have access to distilled water, you buy distilled water, and then you use a compound that will alkalize and ionize the water. That compound is called sodium chloride. And sodium chloride is NaClO2. And NaClO2 will break down to chlorine dioxide, which releases 2 atoms of nascent oxygen. So that you can then use 10 drops per liter, which now you're talking about pennies. Okay, so in each liter, it's going to cost you maybe 50 cents to shift the pH, to increase the ionization of that water without having to spend all this money up front. So you can start from low and work up, or if you have the resources, you can put the best system into your house, even a whole water alkalization system. Another thing that's really concerning is people are showering with toxic water, and people don't realize that they have 3,750 openings on their skin per square inch. And that skin is adsorptive and absorptive, and anything you put on your skin, it's going to absorb it.
Right. Yeah. I tell people that all the time. It's the biggest organ, and it absorbs almost as much as you drink in it.
Right. So it absorbs from the air. It takes moisture. If you're not drinking enough water, it's going to draw it from the air. And that's where some of the waters, because ideally you should be drinking, between 4 to 6 liters, because you're evacuating around 3 to 4 liters. You have to replace that. It's a constant replacing. So from urination, perspiration, defecation, and perspiration, you're eliminating 3 to 4 liters a day of fluid. Well, how's that water getting placed back in? Is it being placed back in with soda pop, coffee, black tea, water content and food? Is it coming from the air? And what is the quality of that water? So you're really at a deficit if you're not focused on probably what I would say health-wise is one of the most important things you can focus on, and that's what you are drinking. Because most of what we are drinking is making us sick. And and this can be verified. So how do you verify it? Well, you can verify it by taking some pH hydrant paper and testing your urine. Okay, so if you test your urine in the morning, I don't know if you've studied pH of urine and saliva, but saliva people get a little bit confused about. They say, well, I test my saliva and it's always below 6, or it's always below around 6, 6.5. I said, I thought you said, ideally the saliva should be in the 7s. I said, well, that's correct. Well, so how do I correct that? I said, well, when you're measuring saliva, all you're measuring is the capacity of the body to manage and maintain its alkaline design. And that really focuses on the stomach, which is the major alkaline organ of the human body, which produces sodium bicarbonate. So if you're not getting enough sodium bicarbonate in the salivary glands, that's a stomach problem. If you're not getting, if your pH if you're in decompensated acidosis in the blood or in the interstitial fluids, that's a stomach problem. Okay, so the stomach is managing that pH, and it's called up by a bundle of cells, which you know about, which is the astrocytes, a bundle of cells in the brainstem. It's regulating the homeostasis of the body, including the pH and your breathing and your heartbeat, and et cetera, et cetera. And if that's suppressed due to an acidic environment or from wearing a mask, and you're inhaling more or retaining more carbon dioxide, this becomes a huge problem in suppressing this control center in your brainstem. It's affecting the stomach's ability through the central nervous system to signal to the stomach to say, hey, stomach, start producing sodium bicarbonate, because this person's in acidosis, and if we don't change this, the person's cells are going to break down and you're going to die. So
how do you think, I just want to jump on the mask thing. How do you think, because this is just an ongoing battle and it's criminal, and I have to, watch kids as young as 5 years old wear masks all day. What do you think? And I just picture in my mind, I know how quickly acidosis forms by rebreathing CO2. So they're doing it all day. The kidneys are trying to compensate, maybe the stomach, as you're saying, and then they take it off at night, and then they try to balance again. It's just, I see this seesaw effect every day, 5 days a week, at least for kids, 5 days a week. And I wonder the long-term effects of this. And I wonder about cognitive function during acidosis all day, during being it just can't. I know it's not.
Well, the cells don't. They survive. They don't thrive. They thrive in an alkaline environment at a pH of 7.365. They don't thrive in an acidic. And anyone that has a symptom, whatever the symptom is in decompensated acidosis of the interstitial fluids, unless the body's pulling calcium from the bones. So the only way that you can find bone loss and the source of the bone loss is testing the interstitial fluids, because in every case of osteopenia or osteoporosis, we're finding decompensated osis, but we're finding hypercalcemia. So what happens is initially the body goes into a state of alkalosis. So the pH actually increases to balance off the acids in the blood that's coming off. And people don't realize is that we are electrical beings, but we produce chemical waste. And that chemical waste, if it's not eliminated, guess where it goes? It goes into the compartments of the largest organ of the body called the interstitium. And what's the fluid called? It's called the interstitial fluid. And what is that fluid? That's the fluid that surrounds every cell. And so when you're drinking water, that's not correct, and that fluid's building up, you get a pushback, and all that waste that's supposed to go into the interstitium and then into the lymphatic system out through the pores of the skin or urination is backing up into the blood, causing cellular breakdown. The pictures that you're seeing behind me are cells, membranes that are deteriorating due to its environment. And I'm finding this in every single person that is being tested. I'm finding the corona effect or acanthocytes or these what are called I'm trying to think of the name now of these types of cells. They're called schistocytes.
Yeah.
But membrane cellular breakdown. And this happens because of an environmental problem. And it starts with the water you're drinking. So if you've got kids that are having symptoms, you can either treat the symptom with a drug or you can change the water.
Mm.
So
and
if we go back to the solution for the viewers, you've mentioned there are some quite expensive options out there, and then we go down to the more budget options. Like I know that the for us in the UK, you can get an ionizing jug for about £35. You can also get a vortex bottle, which range from £17 up to £60. So it's not going to produce a mass amount of water for a whole family, but for individuals, they're bottles that you can do a 4-stage process with. So you could probably get the 4 different items for just under £100. I don't know how much more effective they're going to be, but at least it's something. But what people need to do is get into the mentality of people will spend thousands on a car. They'll spend £1,000 on a TV these days. This is your life. And this is a life process. So you're investing in your health and the rest of your life. So it's something that people need to take seriously. We invest in our homes, our cars, our gardens, but we don't invest in ourselves. And that's the mentality that people need to think. You can't think, oh my God, £400 or £1,000 for something that's going to produce water. You have to understand the benefits of what this is doing for your body and your health, and need to change your outlook as to where you're spending your money.
Here's the new road that we fixed. We put them all down here. We got some guys to smooth it out. So I'm just showing you guys the road that we fixed so far. There's some basic holes and such. So we went over a few days ago. Oops. All along this road here, up to the front. And yeah, what is there?
According to our military intel contact, the liquidity release process started November the 11th, Wednesday night, November the 11th, and there was nothing holding it down. Now it was a matter of coordinating complex events of the election Supreme Court action, state recounts, and enough arrests of election fraud perpetrators to push events forward. He said to watch for notifications through the weekend. Under statutes set out by the Constitution, there was 10 days of darkness where the president couldn't act on official business. The timing began on the 4th of November and ended on Saturday, the 14th, which is today. Dominion Voting Systems. Dominion Voting Systems Corporation is a company that sells electronic hardware and software, including voting machines and tabulators in the United States and Canada. The company's international headquarters are in Toronto, Canada, and in its US headquarters are in Denver, Colorado. The company carries out in-house software development for its customers in the United States, Canada, and Serbia. All right, you guys, I'd like to pray. Heavenly Father God, we pray thank you for this day. I want to put a hedge of protection around all that is good and not so good globally. Around Donald Trump, the Army, the Navy, the military, the Marines, Donald Trump, and all that is good and all that is not so good. All right, to support us here, you guys go to PayPal at themullings@gmail.com. For the GSA bonds, you can write to us for that to set off matters such as child support cases, mortgages, foreclosures, tickets, citations, utilities, auto loans, student loans, warrants, and for those of you having to see an agent doing business as parole officer, as well as those of you in so-called churches doing business as jails. For nonviolent offenses, you can email us for the GSA bonds templates to set off the matters and the 1099 OID. You can do that as well to get back the finances that they claimed you owed. We didn't get back as much as what they said. It's $2 million per charge, but we got back something significant that we could still work with. So you guys can write to us for that at themullings@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, you guys, to Noble L II, a new channel, and the original channel as well, Noble L. Attention Office of the International Criminal World Court, the Army, the Navy, the military, the Marines, Donald Trump, the Securities and Exchange Commissioner, Jay Clayton doing business as Securities and Exchange Commissioner head, Joseph Otting doing business for the head for the Comptroller of Currency, also Louis DeJoy doing business as Postmaster General, also the heads at the United States Federal Trade Commission, Antitrust Department and Clearinghouse Department, also the heads at the Fraud Department, Interpol, the Federal Bureau of Investigations heads, and the Universal Postal Union heads. I come to you in good faith in one's proper person as a living flesh and blood, sentient being, Suri Juris, Suri Eris, heir to the world's vast estate. I stand my ground as Moabite Queen, Empress, holding the highest diplomatic office, AA 222141, and my private number, 449-59344. Do not use that number, you guys. All right, now, I require command and demand. You go now and investigate the company called Dominion. This Dominion company over here that's doing the voting systems, that was reported to us earlier. Thank you to all of you doing the research out here. Dominion voting systems. Go now and investigate if it's true. Does Pelosi's husband and Feinstein's husband and them, and I guess other agents doing business as politicians and other entities, have so-called shares, who are doing business as politicians in this so-called company? Also investigate, if so, go and round up the profits they've generated and arrest them for treason, fraud, and genocide this night and remove them from office, right? In addition to that, go now and tell us is what our water pH level is like, and are they in fact putting in the arsenic and the fluoride still, and or are those arsenic or the poisons or whatever we're being subjected to, are they coming naturally from the ecosystem? Tell us if those agents are still putting stuff in the water, tell them to stop this night. If they do not stop within 3 hours, right, go and arrest them for treason, fraud, and genocide, right? Now, the rest of us globally, all the people globally, send them this water system device that the Dr. Young is talking about, the $4,000 one. Send it to the people globally, man, so they have access to good water. In addition to that, you know that one here, and a lot of our people who are allergic to the foods here, the yeast-ridden foods that they have here. Send us the rye breads and the things that we can use to process our, those of us who are allergic to a lot of the white flours and stuff like that. Send us the stuff that we can have access to globally. That's better for our systems, right? Send it to us now. All right, and then just round up the profits generated from all this corruption and remedy the matters sent to you prior. And I know a lot of agents are now being arrested and rounded up. Go and finish up the media and stuff, because apparently you reported to us that when they reported that Biden had won, they actually committed treason, because they're not allowed to do that. So go and round up the rest of them for the said treason, genocide, racketeering, use the Insurrection Act for war crimes against humanity, and that under the 14th Amendment. That you sent to us earlier, use that now and have them removed from office globally, so we can move on and put some proper television news broadcasters out there. We'll help as much as we possibly can doing our stuff here. The roads, we just want to thank again the powers that be that was gracious enough to send to us the elder men that helped to spread all that stuff you guys just saw in that video to massive potholes of water. We didn't get a chance to videotape it prior because there was so much rain and stuff going on here. So when we got the stuff, the men just showed up like angels and put it out for us really quick. So we have the other roads now we're going to try to do again. And we just want to thank all the hardware companies for helping us by delivering the stuff to us. And so thank you for that. And you guys remember to support us here. Go to PayPal at themullings@gmail.com. And thank you to the powers that be that are doing their stuff behind the scenes, doing the voting recounts and whatnot on the statewide, globally, in the Americas, and also, globally, because there's also been, as you already know, the same frauds that went off into the so-called United States. More fraud, you guys, is going on around the globe. A lot of the systems that they had in place that were set up to do other activities globally elsewhere, sadly they were used. That's why the Bible says, do unto others as if others do unto you. It's the law. They set this stuff up, the same corrupted agents doing business as Democratic Party agents, deep state, to get certain entities, politicians they wanted to do soft politics, right? You guys know what I mean by soft. All right. So now it came back to haunt them in the sense that they used it in the Americas and it backfired. So now they're being rounded up, so they're just getting rid of the rest of them. So do all of that, what you're doing now, just continue, and we will continue to pray. Thank you in advance for your speedy response to that matter. By Noble Honorable Ange Elinity Alpha El Rubenite Tribe Chief, American Indian, Elodie Tuttle Moorish American National, UCC 1-308. Without recourse, all rights reserved. I stand by the Book of Ruth, by my organ harvested husband Jackson and myself. Dolo kononata kananachi konoita kananaitaka, nena nakai no no ko oita kananataka, nina nakata kanonota konoita kanalataka, nina nakata kananai e, nana nahaitaka. Nene nakata kanonota konoita kananaitaka, nina no ko o to konoita kananaitaki. And just clean up the beach waters here so we can return back to the waters to deal with the water situation and all the toxins here so that we can have access again, right? So I know you're cleaning up the underground military dumps, so just do what you're doing. All right, you guys, like, share, subscribe. You guys have yourself a great day.